On today's podcast, I'm taking a look at 3 different product life cycles. Not the kind of products that you'd find on shelves at the stores, no. Instead, I'm looking at professional sports leagues. 3 different sports, 3 different professional leagues. I'm going to analyze the WNBA, MLB, and the PGA Tour. Specifically, I want to look at the relationship that these 3 leagues have with what I'm going to deem the casual fan. That is, it's not the fan that's a diehard for a specific team or a specific player, but a fan that says, hey, this is interesting. I might kind of care about this. You sort of have my attention. But, overall, I'm pretty laid back about this whole experience. I want to take a look at how these 3 different professional sports leagues cater to these casual fans. And then I want to wrap it all up trying to figure out where exactly the WNBA should stand when it comes to all this new viewership that they have, predominantly from the casual fan. That's right, we're talking the dub, the hottest league in all of sports right now. Without further ado, hit the music, let's start sipping. Alright, as I mentioned in the intro, I want to spend some time today analyzing the WNBA, the MLB, and the PGA Tour's relationship with what I am calling the casual fan. The fan that is laid back about the whole experience of watching or attending or however they are consuming the sport, but one that I would still say, at best, you can say, you have their attention slightly, certainly not fully. So, first, I think it's important to discuss why I chose these 3 different leagues: the WNBA, MLB, and the PGA Tour. We're talking a mix of 3 different sports, different genders of the athletes that are playing them, different league maturities, different primary audiences. So, why these 3 leagues? Well, I think first, their differences are actually what make them perfect to use as comparisons. It's similar to conducting business, which at the end of the day is what these sports leagues are doing. You take the business world, you have a pharmaceutical company, a manufacturing company, and an ice cream truck. They all have very different products. But at the end of the day, they're all trying to accomplish very similar things. They're trying to sell as many widgets or pills or ice cream cones as possible. So the ice cream cones in this example of the 3 different sport leagues that I'm bringing up are fan eyeballs. It is your attention. Without fan attention, professional sports leagues are no different than your Thursday night softball league. The WNBA, MLB, PGA Tour, and any other sports league, they need your attention to survive. Without your attention, they don't sell tickets to their arenas, they don't sell jerseys of your favorite players, they don't sell cable packages so that you can watch your allegiances at home. It's why the NFL is king of all sports leagues in the US, and it's why professional soccer leagues are king outside of the US. They have all the eyeballs. But is that those eyeballs in the lesser sports leagues, in which I think we find an interesting conundrum? Because not every eyeball is created equal. And this is where the casual fan comes into play. In every sports league, there are fans that live and die by every second of every game. There are casual fans that are kind of paying attention and tune in when it's convenient for them. And then there's someone in the middle. Everyone else would fall in the middle. Of course, there's also the person that doesn't care at all, but they wouldn't even register as a fan in the situation, so we're not going to consider them. Leagues make their money primarily from the passionate fan bucket, and then somewhat from the middle ground, and then very sporadically from that casual fan bucket. Just like a business would. The most passionate fans of the business Apple, they're always getting the new iPhone or AirPods or virtual reality headset. Then there's the ones in the middle. They're occasionally upgrading. And then there's the casual purchasers. They might be seeing iPhone commercials on TV, but it doesn't necessarily mean Apple is getting any of their money. So let's take this away from the business world. Let's move it back to those sports leagues. We'll start with MLB. Major League Baseball is riddled with an issue of having passionate fans that are stuck at only a regional level. Keeping up with the baseball season at a national level is nearly an impossible task. There are 30 teams across 17 different states that each play 162 games, some of which those games are in the middle of the day on weekdays. That's nearly 5,000 games just for the regular season. And it doesn't matter if you're the most passionate MLB fan in the world, you're still only blessed with those 2 eyeballs that you were given. So even the most passionate MLB fans do what's easy. They focus their attention solely on their favorite team, of which is often just the team that they grew up near or the one that they live near now, and thus Major League Baseball falls into the hole that they're currently in, and the one that they've been stuck in since the late 1990s and the early 2000s when baseball was considered cool enough to garner national attention. MLB viewership, all those MLB fan eyeballs, are limited by their geographic region. You can add the bigger bases, you can implement the pitch clock, you can do all the changes to modern baseball that we've seen, and they're still going to run into the same issue: regionality. Now let's shift over to the second league, the PGA Tour. I've said it in person and I've said it on podcasts before, I know, but I'm going to go ahead and repeat it. With all that has happened in the shifting landscapes of professional golf over the last couple years, it truly has felt like to be a fan of pro golf, you also have to be a fan of corporate mergers and international politics. That's clearly a big barrier to entry, as few people want to have to do that. So how does golf still have viewers? Well, golf has 2 things going for it that help out driving viewership in a way. So the first of those, there's a good group of fans in golf that might not be the biggest professional golf fans. They're not the biggest fans of watching the actual professional golf, but they do enjoy playing golf themselves. And, you're a bit less likely to be able to do this in other sports leagues. So, it's a bit tougher to find a guy that could throw a baseball 90 miles an hour so that you could step up to the plate and really understand what hitting a baseball is like in MLB. And, I don't often see those guys that are 6'7" and skilled and athletic at the local Y that, can dribble between their legs and hit a 3. You don't see those in the pickup games. But golf's different. I'm able to go play a 180-yard par 3 that's downwind and over water at my local golf course, and then I can tune into professional golf and say, hey, look at that. This professional golfer I like, he's in the same situation that I am. The prevalence of fans playing the actual sport in golf significantly help it drive a more passionate fan base. Then there's the second advantage golf has, and that's a marketing phenomenon that I've kind of come onto as late and been intrigued by. And it's that you're only as valuable as your highest moments are when it comes to sports broadcasting. So let me explain this. The NFL is so extremely valuable because every single thing that the NFL does has so many eyeballs on it. And then it all culminates in the largest watched sporting event every single year, the Super Bowl. It's the most valuable sports league in America because the highest point is higher than any other sports league's highest point. Well, golf has its own version of the Super Bowl each and every week, of course, on a much smaller scale. But it's the second reason it keeps some of its value when it comes to viewership. And that is the final 4 to 5 holes each Sunday afternoon. Because without fail, without having to watch the 67 holes of the tournament that they were playing prior to that, you could tune into those final few holes, and a majority of the time, you can still see some good golf drama. Golf tournaments can go on for 4 days, but their true value is reserved just for those final 45 minutes. The value isn't in the whole tent, it's just the highest pole in that tent. But of course, golf has its issues too, just like the MLB that we already talked about. Golf has an issue of fans being unable to perceive the importance of each week's tournament. If ultimately a golfer's legacy is only going to be defined by the way they play in the 4 major championships each year, why does the golf season last all year long? Why should I care about the rest of it? And now even more so, with professional golfers playing on multiple different tours all across the world and only coming together for these major tournaments, doesn't that make the argument to only tune in for those 4 weeks of major tournaments even stronger? Where the MLB has regionality problems, the PGA Tour has relevancy problems. Now let's shift to the final sports league, the WNBA. The WNBA finds themselves in an interesting situation right now, but I'm a little bit worried of where they could be headed. But let's start with the good. A star-studded draft class this year, led primarily by Caitlin Clark, but also by players like Angel Reese and Cameron Brink. They've brought more eyeballs to the WNBA than ever before. And this one, these record numbers, they come after a 2023 record-breaking year, in which it has its largest viewership in 13 years and largest attendance in 21 years. Viewership across all of its platforms, ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, and CBS, it was all up 21% to 2022 numbers. And things have only gotten better in 2024. The first week of the new season saw a 14% increase in attendance from last year, had 10 sellouts. The New York Liberty's home opener versus Clark and the Indiana Fever, it made history as the first NBA game to generate more than $2 million in ticket revenue, as the Barclays Center in Brooklyn was packed with more than 17,000 fans. Same situation is happening on TV. 5 games shown on ESPN networks during the opening week of the WNBA averaged 1.43 million viewers. That was a 226% increase from the 2023 season average. The WNBA also saw massive gains in terms of League Pass purchases. That was a 182% increase. And app downloads. That was up 146%. This all came at a time in which the NBA and the NHL playoffs are in full force. We're seeing situations in which not only ESPN television shows, but national news outlets, podcasts, radio shows, anything you name, they're leading off their coverage talking about the WNBA. It's unprecedented. But with unprecedented attention comes pivotal next moves. Because at this point, all these new viewers have to be labeled and fall into the casual fan bucket. You've captured their attention, and right now, this is the best feeling in the world. The WNBA should want all the casual attention they could possibly get right now. If it's all about Caitlin Clark, who cares? They just need eyeballs. Because for years before this, they have never had this level of attention. So there's beef between Caitlin Clark and Kennedy Carter. Awesome, as long as people are watching. People are getting on ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, and they're talking about women's sports, and they have no clue what they're talking about. Who cares if they're clueless? At least they're using some of their time on the WNBA. Garner all the fan attention that you possibly can right now because you need it. And then it will transition into the harder step, funneling these casual fans into the passionate fan bucket. It's business 101. At the end of the day, I've rambled on for however many minutes now, but it comes to something I remember learning in my high school business class: customer conversion. I can have a cool product, I can have the best features, I could have a great sales pitch, but if I cannot convert my casual customer to a passionate customer, I'm not going to succeed. Major League Baseball and the PGA Tour have been there. They've had the national eye, they've had their star Caitlin Clark-like players, and they've fumbled their attempts to convert them to the next level up. And the WNBA needs to avoid that in any way possible. Because as hard as it may be to get someone from a casual fan to a passionate fan, it's even harder to have to watch them go from a casual fan to not a fan at all. That will do it for today's podcast. If you like what you heard, tell a friend, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever podcast platform you're using. I greatly appreciate it. I'll be back next week. I've got a guest lined up to talk about mental health in sports. A conversation I'm pretty excited to have and to share with everyone. So get ready for that. For now, I hope your thirst is quenched.